Hello and welcome to Brimwood Farm. Today is a polytunnel day, and I have to say the poor old polytunnel has been rather neglected. So we need to get a cleaning, but we also need to get ahead with the season next year, so the 2024 growing season. And there are actually plants already in the ground for next year. Now you're going to see it warts and all, the good stuff and the bad stuff. So here we go. Here is the polytunnel. So here is the good stuff. Here is the semi-okay stuff. And here is the bad. Look, there are still mushy tomato vines in the ground. And so the plan today is to take the peppers out and try and preserve them for next year. Get some more plants in the ground. Have a bit of a clean up because there's still all of this mess from earlier this year. These were, I think I sowed some seeds in here and then they just, look, they got hot and they withered away. And I do have a few plants that I was growing under grow lights in the cabin. However, the problem is, well, this Nigella's fine, but the mice found the asters and the larkspur. So I'm going to move them into the polytunnel. And if they survive, they survive. And if they don't, it doesn't matter. We'll just grow more next year. And so I have got a few things growing in here already. I've got some rows of salad bowl lettuce, both the red and the green varieties. I've also got some spinach. I've got some pak choy. And I've also got a few snap peas, sugar snap peas. And I guess the key thing to remember in the winter is they don't grow. The levels of daylight mean that even if it's fairly warm in your polytunnel, they're not going to put on a lot of growth. So the main thing is to keep them protected from pests. Because though in the mid-growing season, if something comes along and snacks on a leaf or two, they will just regenerate. In the winter, they won't. So losing a leaf or two or the crown can just kill them off instantly. It was Vole City in here a few years ago, and the voles just came in and decimated everything. But since I got the feral cats, and one of them actually sleeps up that end, they seem to have put pay to that. So it means that most of my plants in here over winter are okay. And the pak choy do seem to be actually putting on a little bit of growth. I'm sure they're bigger than they were when I first put them out. And the sugar snap peas are just an early crop for next year. So you can take them as pea crops, as pea shoots now. And then when it gets warmer next year, they should whoosh away and give me some early crop before I get the main crop outside. Now, peppers are actually perennial and you can overwinter them. I didn't know this. I tried last year, but the polytunnel became too humid. It was cold, it was humid, and the peppers went mouldy and didn't make it. So this year I'm going to dig some up, the healthiest ones I'm going to dig up, and I'm going to just pop them on. And I'm going to store them in a cool, dry, spare room and try and keep them ticking over to next spring. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I'll just sow a load more. And I'm going to pick the healthiest ones, i.e. the ones where the stalks haven't gone mouldy or dead, and we'll see what happens. Oh, not very good trout. I may have left this too late because we have had a bit of a cold snap. And so if the cold snap has killed the roots, then obviously the plant's dead. But we might as well give it a go. And as I say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If they don't survive, we'll just plant more. It's not a very good trowel either. Look, the joint's gone. It's breaking. Oh, it broke. Ugh. Well, here is my haul. It's not a lot, so I'm definitely going to have to plant some more next year. And as an experimentation, I've also put in a couple of aubergine plants. There were 4 that hadn't gone nasty, so I thought, why not give them a go? Now, as far as I believe, the purpose of moving them indoors is not to grow them, it's just to overwinter them. And they should, in the warmth, or in not the frost, put on a few little leaves, and that will then give me the chance to actually work out whether they are alive or dead. So it's all an experimentation, but we'll see how we go. And the idea of overwintering them for me as a market gardener is if I can get some plants, pepper plants and aubergine plants, that start to crop a little bit earlier than the newly sown ones, then that kind of extends my aubergine and pepper period. So I'm hoping this will work, but we will revisit it in a few months when hopefully they have started to generate a few leaves and we find that they've survived. Right, task number 2. Get these spring onions out. Look at these poor little plants. They will be okay. They've been moused and the mice have dug loads of sand over them, and so we're gonna get them into the ground. And the plan is I'm gonna put them where the peppers just were. I'm gonna plant them in little bundles, and then I found this worked really well last year. Come February, March, I've got decent sized spring onions to sell. So we're gonna put those in. Well, they're in. There they are, all down there. And I should say most of the stuff in the polytunnel is not for the CSA. It's so that I can get a head start on the markets. So my CSA doesn't start till June. So there's plenty of time in 2024 to grow stuff for the CSA. But if it doesn't start to June, I miss all those farmers markets. So having a few things growing in here just means that I can head to a few of the smaller farmers markets and just have a little bit of income coming in. Also, I can use it myself. Well, doesn't that look better? Of course, it needs a good old rake over, and I haven't done myself any favours by allowing all those weeds to go to seed, because it means there's going to be a hell of a lot of weeding in here. And in fact, thinking about it, I might actually no-dig it. I might cover it in cardboard and put some compost on top, because otherwise I'm going to have a job trying to stop all of those weed seeds from germinating. But it does finally feel like stuff's happening in the polytunnel. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea now in my caravan. I have to say, I still feel a little bit like I'm on holiday. The novelty of living on site and just getting so much done has not worn off. You know, in an ordinary day before, I'd have thought, right, I'm getting a bit hungry now, I need a cup of tea. I'd drive home. And then of course, once that I've got home, it's going to be 1 p.m. maybe. And at that point, there's no real point coming back to the farm before it's time for lockup. Now I'll nip in, I'll have something to eat, I'll have a quick drink, and then I'll go and do another project before lockup. So it's already proving to be just marvellous. As so often happens, at the moment it is raining again. But I just wanted to show you, I have not done anything with the market garden. It's not even a market garden at the moment. It's just weeds and a swamp. But you can see there's standing water. So it is pointless me trying to do anything, because I would just literally just ruin the ground. So although it's depressing to look at, and it does depress me because it's just horrible, next year it'll be thriving with life and I can tackle it when the ground is a little bit drier. I did have a tiny little weed in here the other day, and you can see already, look, there's a sheep's been in here, bloody things. But the ranunculus are already starting to come up, though I am a little worried about the cause of those rotting because the ground is so wet. But again, it's for another day, as is Sheepgate. The sheep are being an absolute nightmare. They've realised they can get in now. So I'm going to have to take up all of this boundary netting and I think extend it along the hedgeway, because they come through the hedge and then they just step over. I think if I put it all along the hedgeway, they maybe won't come in. Of course, it's not too much of a bother at the moment because there's nothing in the garden to eat. But you can guarantee that in spring, when there's loads of stuff to eat, they will come in. So I do need to nip that in the bud before next year.